Hello everyone and welcome back to the Ryan Retro channel. This is a Steam Deck, but now so is this, and even this. I've shown on my channel before loads of ways to turn your Android handheld into a little Steam Deck, whether that's running Android apps like Game Native or Game Hub, or flashing an operating system like rocknix over your Android installation. Recently I made this guide video about running rocknix on your Android device so that you could get a SteamOS-like experience. And while that was really good, it had quite a lot of little steps involved. Today I'm going to show you by far the best, most streamlined, easiest, snappiest experience we've had so far. This is ArmadaOS, a SteamOS-like experience that you can run from your SD card or flash to your internal storage, and the whole process takes like 10 minutes. So grab yourself an SD card and your favorite Android handheld, and together you and me and this beefy Mona Lisa will get started. Setting this up is really simple. Just put your SD card into your SD card reader on your computer and come along to the GitHub repository, which I'll link in the description below, for ArmadaOS. Here you can find a list of the currently supported devices. Lots of devices by ANEO, AYN and Retroid are available right now. And it has some really simple instructions on how to set this up for yourself, but I'm going to run you through this nice and easily. So near the top of the page, find releases, and here you can click on the latest one. This one is from 2 days ago. You will see the word download, and underneath that is a single link you can click to start downloading the operating system. After you extract the zip file, you should be left with an Armada image file to flash to the SD card. But as I just downloaded the recent version, I've been given a disk.raw file, which seems a bit weird, maybe because I'm using Mac. So because this is a little bit weird to me, for today's video I'm going to stick with the older release, the one from a few days ago, June 28th. We're now going to write that image file to our SD card. I'm going to use Balena Etcher for this, which I'll link in the description below. So click Flash from File, and then choose your .img file, which will be around 25 gigabytes. Then click Select Target, and here you're going to choose your SD card, the one that you're going to write the files to. Now, this will delete everything on the card, so be careful you're not erasing your internal storage. But Balena Etcher is quite good about only showing external cards like this generally. So click the checkbox, select one, and then when you click Flash, it's going to warn you one more time. Just make sure you're not wiping your entire internal storage. And when you're sure this is the correct card, click Yes, I'm sure. You'll then need to enter your password, and then it will start flashing the SD card for you with your beautiful new Steam operating system. Once it's done, it will say Flash completed, and you can close this down, take your SD card and pop it into your handheld of choice. For me in this video, it's going to be my lovely Ryan Retro Purple Retroid Pocket 6. So pop in the SD card and close its little door. Now the first thing you're going to want to do is open your file manager. That could be the file manager that comes with the device. I like to use File Manager Plus, which is free from the Play Store. And in here, you're going to come to your SD card, and there will be a folder called rocknix_ABL. If you hold your finger down on that folder and then copy it, we're going to want to copy this to our internal storage. So come to the main storage of your handheld, and you're going to paste that folder here. So now on your internal storage, along with folders like alarms, Android, documents, download, all that usual stuff, you now also have the rocknix ABL folder. Now what we need to do is come into our handheld settings. So let's scroll down from the top of the screen and open the little cog wheel. And no matter what device you have, whether it's a Retroid like this one, an AYN, or an ANEO, somewhere near the bottom of this list will be a dedicated handheld settings menu. For ANEO devices, they often have their own dedicated ANEO button. For Retroid, it's just called handheld settings. And for AYN devices, I think it's called Odin settings. Once you're in here, you're going to want to scroll down to the bottom and find Advanced. In Advanced, once again, scroll down to the very bottom and you'll find Run Script as Root. I believe it's named the exact same way on all the different brands' settings menus. Choose Run Script as Root, select a script, and we're going to navigate to that folder we just copied over. So hit the hamburger menu. Make sure you're in your internal storage, not the SD card. This is important. The internal storage, find that rocknix ABL folder we just copied over. Then there'll be 3 more folders inside here. At the time of filming, there are 3 folders. If you're watching from the future, there may be more. This depends on what chipset you have in your device. Check the GitHub page, and I'll also show it on screen right now, and you'll see which folder you should use for each device. I'm using the Retroid Pocket 6, which has a Snapdragon 8 Gen 2 processor, so I'm going to need the SM8550 folder. So I'll select that folder, and here are the files we need to flash. First of all, we're going to flash this backup file, backup.abl.sh. This is going to take a snapshot of the stock configuration. So in the future, if you want to get rid of this, uninstall it, or anything goes wrong, you can easily restore it in the future with the restore backup function. So we're going to choose backup ABL and then run. Now what that will do, if you go back to your file manager, go into the folder for your chipset, it will have created two new files, ABL-A and ABL-B. We're going to want to copy these somewhere safe. So that could be a different device, a different hard drive. I'm going to be lazy and just throw them in the download folder, just so you have them here for if you need to flash them back in the future. Now let's go back to our settings again, back to run script as root, select the script, and now we are going to flash the new firmware we need for this SteamOS operating system. So here we're going to choose Flash ABL. So select that and then run. It will be done instantly. And we're now ready to restart our device into our new bootloader and get into our SteamOS style operating system. So to do that, you need to restart the device while holding the volume down button. So I'm going to hold the power button. I'm going to choose restart. And then as soon as I hit restart, I'll also begin holding volume down. So I'll hit restart, volume down, and I'll keep volume down held down until it boots up. So I'm still holding volume down right now. It just vibrated. I'm still holding it, and now I can let go. Now we're in the rocknix ABL boot menu. So in here, there's just a couple of things we need to do. First of all, we need to tell it what device we're using right now, because all of the Snapdragon 8 Gen 2 devices share that same SM8550 file. I've actually already done this, as you can see at the bottom, but I'm going to show you how to do it. We control this menu at the top by using the volume up and down buttons to move up and down. And then to select one of the options, we press the power button. So we're going to scroll down to set device model and then hit the power button to select it. Here we have a list of all the supported Snapdragon 8 Gen 2 devices. So again, we're going to scroll down the list with the volume buttons. I'm using the Retroid Pocket 6 D-pad bottom. As you can see, my D-pad is on the bottom. So I'm going to highlight that one and press the power button. Now, as you can see, it actually says it at the bottom of the screen. So make sure your one does say at the bottom of the screen the model you're using correctly. And the last thing we need to do is tell it to launch into Linux instead of Android. Right now, you'll see it says boot mode, Android. That means if I hit start right now, it's going to load up Android like normal. But we want to change that to Linux. So we're going to once again navigate through the menu with the power buttons until we get to switch boot mode. Then hit the power button, and you'll see it change from Android to now saying boot mode Linux. We're now going to navigate to the word start and hit the power button. Now we're going to boot into Linux. And later, if you want to boot into Android, you simply just need to restart the device while holding volume down and go back to select boot mode again like we just did, and that will flip it back to Android. So now we're going to start booting into SteamOS. And it is really, really quick. It's been about maybe 15 seconds and we're now getting into the SteamOS menu. You can just navigate through this using the controls, using the touchscreen. Everything's already set up and ready to go. My previous video I made about this using rocknix, it took ages to set up. I had to sit there for maybe 30 minutes for it to load up Steam. And then every time you load up Steam, it would take minutes again. We're talking a matter of seconds. Just like any device setup, you're going to set up your Wi-Fi connection, and it's now going to set up SteamOS for you. Now, you do need to wait a little bit of time for this. It might take a few minutes maybe. The progress bar will immediately jump to like 95%, but that doesn't mean it's almost done. It's actually only just beginning. It's saying it's going to take probably around 3 minutes. So I'll go make a nice cup of tea and then I'll be back. Once that finishes, and it takes probably about 5 minutes, that's the longest part of the process, that one-time setup, you'll be met with this familiar login screen where you can enter your account name and password, or even better, you can use this QR code. So by opening the Steam app on your phone and selecting the little shield icon at the bottom, you can scan the QR code, hit sign into Steam, and then you will be logged in safely and securely, and you will be in SteamOS. You can immediately just start using it exactly as you would a Steam Deck. It is buttery smooth, it has touch controls, it will work with your controller directly out of the box. You can use the Android home and back buttons just like how you do on a Steam Deck to bring up the right side Steam controls for things like brightness and selecting your power profiles as well. You can also see your friend list, turn on the performance overlay to varying levels. It has a Decky plugin support, so you can install various Decky plugins such as Vibrant Deck to turn up the saturation, like I used to have to on my LCD Steam Deck. It's got pretty much everything you expect to see on the real Steam Deck. You can then press the home button on the left side of the screen to bring up the left side menu for things like looking at your library, your downloads folder, and opening your settings. You'll see here we have a little exclamation mark. That shows us we have a new software update to apply. So just like on a regular Steam Deck, you can start downloading and installing updates from here as well. The experience is pretty much an exact one-to-one of my experience on my real Steam Deck. It is just incredible. So you are now ready to just go through your Steam library and start installing and playing games. One thing to note quickly, if games aren't launching for you, go into the compatibility option, check this box, and set the Proton version to Proton 11 CachyOS. If you have the latest update, it's going to automatically set this for you to Proton 11 CachyOS ARM64. That's going to give you the best chance of running a game. So now go ahead and install all of your favorite games and play them. Instead of sitting down and doing that right now, here are two that I prepared earlier. This is my Odin 2 Portal, which I'm trying to turn into a cheap Steam Deck right now for an upcoming video. So I've actually installed this to the internal drive. I've gotten rid of Android and I'm now running SteamOS on it. And it runs pretty okay. Well, we'll get into it a bit more later. And here is my very powerful Odin 3. This is probably the best candidate of all the Android handhelds to run something like this with its powerful Snapdragon 8 Elite chip. This is running from the SD card. And I wanted to compare if installing to the internal drive made a big difference over just running it from the SD card. And my conclusion is, not really. There are some moments in games where running the game from the SD card does cause it to freeze for a second, but they're not too often, and apart from that, everything's pretty much the same. Installing to the internal drive like I have here is nice, and you can apparently uninstall this quite easily. But I think for now, I'd suggest just keeping it on the SD card. One of the only real differences is that you can't change the storage settings. So if you're running this from an SD card, that's the storage you've got to work with. Here I'm using a 512 gigabyte SD card, so that's the storage I've got. On my Odin 2 Portal, it's installed to the internal storage. They haven't yet added SD card support if it's installed internally. And my Odin 2 Portal is the base model. It's only got 128 gigs of storage. Oh, but just as I'm saying these words, I realized they've updated it, because it now says I can use the external storage. Well, I'm learning something as I talk to you. Never mind, apparently you can now use the external storage. Well, shut up, Ryan. Let's give this a go, live. The GitHub page says that this has a fake suspend mode, not a real sleep mode, which made me worried about the battery life, so I did a little test. I was playing Just Cause 3, just as I am now, and it was about 8 in the morning. I paused the game, hit the power button, and put the Odin 3 down. When I checked it 12 hours later at 8 PM, it still had 54% battery remaining. The latest update did say it's enabled real suspend mode for the Odin 3, and I'm not sure if that was implemented when I ran the test or not, because it was right around the time of the update. I think I did the test before this update came out, but I can't be sure. But anyway, just so you know, if you were to run this now, it seems that the suspend is not bad at all. I'm really enjoying playing these games. It's also so easy to jump between different power performance profiles. If you set it to eco mode, it's going to be lower FPS, of course, which is fine for indie games, and quieter. The Odin 3 does have the problem of that extremely obnoxious fan, at least on this early batch I have here. So now as I turn it into high performance mode, you're probably going to hear the fan pretty easily over my voice. It's honestly very uncomfortable. I don't even want to be in the same room as this fan, it's so loud. But I cannot deny the frame rate is lovely. Actually, let's turn on the performance overlay. And you can see, just like the real Steam Deck, we have a simple frame counter. We have a bar across the top, like you may be accustomed to with something like Game Hub. We have probably the most common little square you usually get showing how the frames are doing over time, as well as various things like the speed of the GPU and CPU. And then we have the all-out ridiculous mode if you really want to get into the nitty-gritty details. I usually leave it at level 3. Let's just bring this guy up here. Whee! And as you can see, the frame rate is somewhere in the 30s. I mean, it's not like the highest in the world, but it's a super fun experience. I've been having a great time playing this. Ooh, running low on battery. Here we are in Cyberpunk 2077, and I've shown this opening scene of the game so many times before on my channel. I've never managed to get more than around 13 frames per second. Here it says we're getting around 30. It doesn't feel that smooth, so there may be some kind of a issue with the frame graph here, but it's saying we're getting 30, and I've never managed to get even close to 30 before, so this is pretty promising. If I could hear myself think over the Odin 3 fan right now, this would be a really nice experience. If a game isn't recognizing your controller, you can simply go into the settings, properties, controller, and make sure it's set to enable Steam input. Cloud Sync is fully working. You're able to access all of your cloud saves and save to them. These Android devices just have such incredible screens that are so sharp and vibrant. The OLED panels are absolutely beautiful. They have good speakers. They're just such great little Steam devices that when you put Steam games on them like this, it's just a match made in heaven. This is such a wonderful experience. This Odin 3 that I'm holding in my hands right now, the only issue for me is the really loud fan. Apart from that, this is just basically a perfect device. With this full Steam operating system, this is incredible. And it even goes beyond gaming mode, because you can even jump into desktop mode, just like on the Steam Deck. And here you can access things like the App Store, where you can download all kinds of applications you would on any Linux device. The basic things like Office, a calendar, a calculator, chess. I downloaded GIMP, so I could even make my thumbnail for this video on here. Included in desktop mode is Armada Installer, and this is how you can install Armada to your internal storage if you decide that's something you want to do. I'm going to check out if I can get something like EmuDeck working in this for a follow-up video. Online play works too, as I know some of you will be curious about that. No worries logging in and joining an online server like I am now in Palia. It's all working. And speaking of working, I did just install a game to the SD card, even though I have this installed on internal storage. So that is something that's thankfully been fixed now. The operating system is installed to the internal drive. The game is running from an SD card. We have the best of both worlds. This is glorious. And one more thing worth mentioning is that if we go into the Decky plugins and come into Armada Control, we do actually have some CPU underclock options. You can choose a small, medium, or large underclock, which I was hoping would help with the fan noise here. Unfortunately, it doesn't, but I am getting closer and closer to my perfect little Steam Deck. I do have to point out that not every game works perfectly, of course, and some games that I really want to play, like Slay the Spire 2, just won't open. They give me a black screen that I haven't been able to fix yet. So it's not perfect. It's not a like-for-like exact Steam Deck yet, but we are getting close. The beauty of the Steam Deck is how simple it is. If I want to add a controller, I just hit controller, add controller, bring one in next to my handheld, hit pair, and it just immediately connects to it. And I'm now controlling this with the gamepad. I did notice though that if you use a Bluetooth gamepad, this also is not perfect yet. It seems to be running totally fine right now, but when I tried this out earlier today, there was a distinct lag using a Bluetooth controller. If I plugged in a USB-C cable from the controller to the handheld, then it was absolutely perfect. No latency, everything was great, but when I used a Bluetooth connection, there was a little bit of a lag that I noticed. As I sit down to film this and tell you about the lag, of course it disappears, as is always the case whenever I have a plan to tell anyone anything. So now it's working absolutely perfectly fine. So hopefully it'll continue this way and was just glitching out earlier. Now it seems to be running really nice and smoothly. And if this is the case, this could make a great little Steam machine if you dock it with one of the docks from my dock video. So it's certainly not perfect, but it is really exciting and so easy to set up. So I do encourage you to give it a try, at least just from an SD card if you have a spare one lying around. Don't wipe out your Android operating system like I did here, but give it a go from an SD card. Just a few weeks ago, all I had for Steam was a Steam Deck. And they recently basically almost doubled in price. They became wildly expensive. But now I don't only have the Steam Deck, I have all of these. Thank you so much for watching this video. I hope it was helpful. If it was, please give me a like and subscribe if you haven't already. Thank you so much to my Patreons who help support me every month. And hopefully soon I can turn this silver play button picture into the real thing. So thank you one more time for watching, and I'm sure it won't be long before we're saying hello again.